Hi, I'm Ryan, and I created Nyched. Today we're going to have a conversation with ChatGPT about social media and what the potential problems are and benefits of using platforms like this. I think the conversation will be very interesting and we'll see where it goes. But let's jump in. For this, I started with a brand new ChatGPT account with a VPN to hopefully not have it be influenced by any past conversations I may have had on a different account or even on this IP address and network. So I'm trying my best for it to be completely baseline and unbiased. But if anybody else wants to go out and duplicate the results to see what comes up, I think that would be really interesting as well. So I'm going to start by saying I want to make a video having a conversation with you about social media. Can you give me topics we can talk about? Not that spelling matters, but let's see what it says. That sounds like a great idea. Here are some topics we could discuss in your video. The impact of social media on mental health, how platforms affect self-esteem, anxiety, and overall well-being, social media algorithms, how they work, their influence on what we see, and the consequences of echo chambers, the rise of short-form content, platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts, changing the way we consume media, the pressure to go viral, the pros and cons of chasing online fame, cancel culture and online accountability, when it's fair and when does it go too far, the future of social media, what's next, AI, virtual reality, the new trends in digital interaction, social media addiction, how platforms are designed to keep us hooked, authenticity versus curation, are influencers showing real life or just a highlight reel, monetization in the creator economy, how people are making money through social media, privacy concerns and data collection, how much do platforms really know about us? Okay, so what do you believe are the most problematic areas of social media? Great question. Social media has a lot of benefits, but there are definitely some problematic areas. Here are a few that stand out. Addiction and overuse. Platforms are designed to keep users engaged as long as possible, often at the expense of real-life interactions and mental well-being. Yeah, 100% true. Misinformation and fake news. It's easier than ever to spread false information, whether it's political propaganda, health misinformation, or deep fake content. Okay? I agree for the most part, but the counter is true. Counter misinformation is a thing out there. Or sometimes the thing labeled as misinformation is correct, and then what's countering it is misinformation. So, but very true. It's easier to spread information nowadays. Mental health impact, the pressure to present a perfect life, constant comparison, and the fear of missing out, FOMO, can take a serious toll on users, especially younger ones. True. Young users. Algorithmic manipulation. Social media algorithms prioritize engagement over amplifying extreme or controversial content. Not over, but often amplifying extreme or controversial content, creating echo chambers and increasing polarization. Privacy and data exploitation. Platforms collect vast amounts of personal data, often selling it to advertisers or using it in ways that users don't fully understand. Cyberbullying and harassment. The autonomy of the anonymity. The anonymity of social media allows people to say things they wouldn't in person, leading to toxic environments and serious emotional harm. That's true, 100%. The attention economy. Social media companies profit from keeping people scrolling, which can lead to shorter attention spans and decreased productivity. True. Influencer culture and unrealistic standards. Social media often promotes unattainable beauty standards, materialism, and curated versions of reality that can make people feel inadequate. Each of these issues has layers to it. and there are arguments on both sides, but overall, social media has become a double-edged sword, powerful, but with some serious downsides. What's your take? Do any of these issues stand out more than others? I'm going to ignore those questions and continue on. Are there any parts of this technology tying these ideas together? Absolutely. The common thread tying all these issues together is the way social media platforms are designed, specifically their reliance on algorithms, data collection, and engagement-driven business models. Here's how these technologies connect the problematic areas: algorithms and engagement loops. Platforms prioritize content that keep us engaged, often pushing extreme emotional or sensational content. This fuels misinformation, polarization, and addiction by reinforcing what people already believe. 100% true. This is what I talk about all the time with Nyched. Data collection and personalization. Social media thrives on collecting vast amounts of user data to tailor content and ads. This raises privacy concerns and contributes to mental health struggles by showing users hyper-personalized content that may reinforce insecurities. True, data collection, big thing. That's how social media makes most of their money. It's tied to their business model. The attention economy. The longer users stay on a platform, the more money companies make from ads. This leads to promotion of addictive behaviors, the pressure to go viral, and the curation of unrealistic lifestyles that influence users' self-esteem. 100%. We've talked about getting offline before at length, how being out in the real world really helps with your mental health and to not be so tied to social media. Anonymity and virality, ver or vi? We're going to go with vi. Anonymity and virality. Features like anonymous posting, instant sharing, and massive reach allow cyberbullying, harassment, and cancel culture to flourish, often without much accountability. Sure. So on Nyched, you have to create good content in order to have currency to post more content. So you can't just post willy-nilly anything you want. And that should help more mirror what happens in the real world, where you consider to yourself, should I say that thing to this person? Or are there going to be consequences of me saying that thing out loud, whether it be in a group or face-to-face, or in any other type of public forum? AI and content moderation challenges. While AI is used to filter content, it often struggles with context, allowing harmful posts to slip through, while sometimes unfairly censoring others. This impacts everything from free speech debates to the spread of misinformation. 100% true. If there are not human eyeballs on it, we're the best computer out there. Our minds can determine fairly quickly if something is real or something is not real. And too often, algorithms and the AIs that are behind making decisions on what information comes across our feed are making mistakes. They're making mistakes every single day where certain things get downplayed, even from the bias of the programmer in it. So the only way to eliminate my personal bias, which, believe me, I have a personal view and opinion on a lot of things, but the only way for me to eliminate that so that you may have the freedom to interact with ideas and content that you want to and in the way you want to is to eliminate these things from platforms. It's very interesting. At the core of all these issues is the business model. Talked about this a minute ago. Social media companies make money by keeping users engaged for as long as possible, regardless of whether the content is good or bad for them. That's why these problems aren't just random, they're systemic. Do you think social media companies should take more responsibility for these issues, or is it up to users to manage their own experience? Well, I'll answer that for you guys. I think social media companies should take more responsibility over these issues. I just don't think that it's possible. I think they're too entrenched in their business model for them to be able to divorce themselves from these things that make social media problematic. And I don't think that it's up to users to manage their own experience because we don't have the filters and customizations to be able to do so effectively. At the end of the day, we're still at the whim of the companies that created these platforms. And until algorithms are removed from information sharing and ideating, I don't think that we're going to have the freedom to be creative again. Even influencers aren't all that creative. They're just trying to chase that next viral moment to keep us engaged, to aid the algorithm, to keep us tied to these platforms, and it doesn't help any of these things that, ChatGPT has kind of come up with. And these are all topics that I've talked about in the past at length as well. Do me a favor. If you're interested in anything we're talking about right now, go to resistthealgorithm.com. It'll take you to the Nyched landing page. It'll talk to you about the platform. Or if you have a minute, go to one of our other platforms, either TikTok or Facebook or pretty much anywhere. TikTok, Facebook, my personal Instagram. It's all linked below. If you could give me a follow, it would really help things out. Also, if you want to see this conversation on ChatGPT, there's a link below in the description to it. All right, let's get back to this conversation. All right, if you were to design a new type of social platform to mitigate these pitfalls, how would you go about organizing the app? That is a fascinating challenge. If I were to design a new social media platform that mitigates the major pitfalls of current platforms, I'd focus on 3 core principles: user well-being, transparency, and meaningful connections. Algorithm, transparency, and control. Instead of a secretive algorithm dictating what the user sees, I would give users full control over their feeds. A feed settings panel where users can choose whether to see content chronologically, by interests, or based on trusted sources. No engagement-based amplification. Controversial or sensitive content wouldn't be boosted artificially. An algorithm dashboard that explains why users are seeing certain content and allows them to tweak it. So, those top 2 bullet points are part of Nyched already, essentially, because I removed the algorithm. So I think ChatGPT is on the right track here, but they didn't go far enough. I think we can easily remove the algorithm from applications like platforms and not lose anything by it if we put enough functionality and customization into it so that you and I can have control over our feed. And that's what Nyched aims to do through adding niches and not having gatekeepers and putting Stardust, the in-app currency, in so that you can earn for your content that is promoted through the community and be able to post more. Because if you're doing good with what you're sharing, you get the opportunity in the real world to share more. If you have interesting ideas and interesting conversations with a person, you get to have more of that person's attention in the future because they were attracted to what you were saying and what you were doing. Number 2, mental health and well-being features. Social media shouldn't exploit psychology. It should support mental health. 100% agreed, ChatGPT. User time reminders that gently suggest breaks when scrolling too long. No like counters. Users can express appreciation, but there's no visible number to chase. Positive reinforcement AI. An AI-driven assistant that detects negative spirals, doom scrolling, toxic engagement, and nudges users towards healthier habits. That's pretty interesting. Positive reinforcement AI. That's an interesting idea. I think as long as it's optional, that's fine, because I fully believe in us having more freedom, not less freedom. So I don't want to jam some sort of technology down people's throats. 3, privacy-first approach. End-to-end encryption for private messages. 100%. If Nyched ever has a messaging feature, I don't want to know what you're talking about. I have no reason to look and see what you are saying to one another. It should be treated as if it's a text message or a phone call. These platforms have abused their power. Now, a lot of them have corrected this or allegedly corrected this, but it is something that's a problem when you're using other messaging apps potentially that are out there. 0 ad-based tracking. The platform would run on subscription models or ethical ads, non-personalized. Yeah, so the idea behind this is 100% what we're doing at Nyched. So this is amazing to me. Obviously, new account, like I said earlier. I'm on a VPN right now. Hopefully, ChatGPT isn't pulling anything in from conversations previous. If one of you wants to do this as an experiment, I'd love to see your video. But my idea behind ads is that you put an ad onto a niche, not necessarily based on demographic. Now, I think boiling down a little bit is fine. Maybe age and sex, that type of thing. Location, obviously, there's sometimes you don't want to advertise in Zimbabwe if you're an American company or something along those lines. So that makes some sense. But nothing super duper specific about your personal information being able to be tweaked by these advertisers. Data ownership. Users could easily see and delete their data at any time. 100%. That makes so much sense, right? We should be able to go and nuke it out of there as if it never existed, as if our account never existed in the platform at all. None of this, like, it's saved in the background and the information is still sitting there being able to be used. Now, the one thing, in order for this to happen, the platform would really need its help from its users in order for them to be able to afford to do this with the cost of servers and that type of thing. So people like you and I would need to subscribe to these platforms so that the money is coming directly from the customer. The user then becomes the customer instead of the advertiser being the customer. In order for stuff like this to work, the subscription model makes so much sense for platforms. Having an ad-free level makes so much sense for platforms that allow people to subscribe to it, because now the monetary incentive doesn't need to come from advertisers. It can come directly from the end user. Real connections over virality or virality. Inner circle mode, where users can create small, intimate social spaces instead of being bombarded by massive feeds. Yeah, so custom feeds essentially is an idea that I have that will be being worked on here in the next year. No followers, only connections. Relationships would be mutual, avoiding the pressure of follower clout count. So that's an idea I have as well, where when you get a mutual follow, there's, followers, but then there's also friends. So it's kind of like a combination of what Facebook does and what Twitter and Instagram does. Community-based content discovery rather than mass trending topics, reducing viral misinformation. Yeah, so one of my ideas is that if you are the originator of content, somehow we connect that content to you. So we see these videos all the time where on one side you have someone talking in a podcast, and on the other side you have someone doing woodworking or welding or cooking or something like that. And they mash these two videos together and then they post that onto their page, and they're getting the credit for that content, not either of the two original creators. So I think that's a bad thing. That needs a solution out in the internet world. Misinformation and AI moderation with human oversight. A verified source label for credible news sources. I think the credible news source label would be fine as long as it's something that the community does, as long as it's not something that someone at Nyched is clicking a button and saying this is a credible news source, because that allows for potential temptation to say, hey, if you want to be a credible news source, you pay us $100,000 a year. And then any big news source can afford to do that. But little guys who are credible, who are out there hitting the pavement and getting scoops on things that are real and, true, might not be able to do that. So I think there's positive and negatives to that idea. Crowdsourced fact checking. Users can flag misleading content, and an independent review board, not an algorithm, makes final calls. Yeah. So my idea with this is to have you guys police Nyched, kind of a neighborhood watch type of mentality. If it's 100% not true, providing enough sources to show that it's not true, and I do like that Twitter's doing these community notes now. I think that's a good thing. But even more than that, going deeper than that. I'm not a big believer in removing content because then it takes away the trail of evidence that you're a bad actor. But I do like the idea of being able to flag content and have the community rewarded for getting the right information out there, and not right ideologically, but correct information, even if it gives different perspectives on the same topic. AI assisted content labels. This claim is disputed. This is satire instead of outright takedowns. Yeah, I just said I'm not a big fan of taking down information. I think AI does have a place in Nyched in the future. I'm thinking about it heavily. I'm not sure exactly where it sits. I don't know if it's necessary. I'd like to see what Nyched does without it before we just jump in and say, yeah, it absolutely needs to be here. I don't think all technology needs to be implemented everywhere in society. So No addiction loops. Number 6, no infinite scrolling. Users reach a natural stopping point instead of getting sucked in. That's an interesting idea. Right now, the way the app stands, there's no infinite scrolling. It's actually something coded in the update coming up. But I like the idea of being able to turn it on and off, because if you're a person who doesn't struggle with this and you like infinite scrolling, I want you to be able to have it. If it's something that you think would be helpful and you have to hit a button, or you come through, say, 30 posts and then you're at the end of it and you have to do a physical action and you think that would be beneficial for you, then I'm all for it. Reflect and share, prompts to encourage deeper engagement rather than passive consumption. Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's a new idea. I've thought about the idea. I spoke a little bit earlier about, like, if there's a video, when you share it, making it clear that it's not your video that you're sharing. And that kind of goes along those lines. But if you can add to the conversation in that way, I really do like that idea. I'll have to think about that more. If you have any thoughts about that, leave it down in the comments below. This platform would be built for people, not just for profit, with a strong emphasis on ethical design. It wouldn't be about maximizing engagement, but about fostering authenticity, healthy interactions, and a real community. What do you think? Would something like this actually work? Or do you think people are too hooked on the current model? You guys know what I think. I think it would work, because I invested a ton of time in pretty much creating exactly this. It's interesting that through the last 5 or 10 years of me thinking about this project, and then actually putting code on screen, ChatGPT pretty much came up with an identical blueprint to what I am attempting to do with Nyched. I think I'm going to leave off here. This is an interesting conversation. Not too many questions here, but ChatGPT has identified the pitfalls of social media, and it's come up with a solution. Now, coincidentally, it's a very similar solution to what I'm doing with Nyched. I've talked a bit about some of the things here in this video that Nyched has in it. The main thing I don't think I've really touched on yet is that Nyched centers around your interests. So the only thing curated by the company is the niches, and there's a way for you to request new niches inside of the platform. But you follow niches, you follow brands, you follow products, and you follow people. And based on that, and one behavior change, which is every time you post, you have to attach a niche to it. That is going to give us the freedom to create customizations and filters within the feed so that you can have full control and not be led somewhere by an algorithm, so that you can see everything you want to see, and for things not to be downplayed or demonetized or not shown to you that maybe were pertinent to what you're interested in. I believe that you should have full control over your online environment. I believe that this current state of things with platforms doesn't provide a lot of latitude for us to have creativity and to be expressive in ways where we get to develop ideas and have unique and diverse conversations. I think that the bias of the programmers are clearly in platforms, and that is not a good or healthy thing. And ultimately, I believe that you should be able to have a concierge experience where your experience on Nyched and the way it looks and the way it feels is 100% different from my experience on Nyched and the way it looks for me and the way it feels. Nyched is the world's first human interaction platform, and it's totally within your control. To learn more, go to resistthealgorithm.com. If you like this video, give it a like. If you enjoyed it as well, I ask humbly that you subscribe to our channel for more content coming soon. And if you want to see more, stay tuned.